Hi, welcome to Coding Bible channel. In this video, I will talk about event binding. We are still talking about data binding, and we have finished talking about one-way binding in the last video. And now we will talk about the second type, which is event binding. We can consider event binding as a one-way binding, but from template to the class. I will start the video by one question, which is, does Angular deals with event in the same way we are dealing with event in JavaScript? The answer is no. To understand the difference, we have to talk about the events in JavaScript, and then we will talk about the event in Angular. In JavaScript, you can deal with events in two ways. The first one by using or by catching the element and then use event listener in this way. And the second way is using events on tags like this one on click, and we can write console.log and we can write here event, for example. How this works in JavaScript: when Chrome or the browser sees the attribute on click, he will bind this function to the on click property in the object, in the button object. For example, if you can see here the button object, you can see a lot of properties that's used for dealing with event, but all of them are null, but on click only has value, and the value is this one. As you can see, this is the code that we wrote here, and then if you click the button, the browser will execute this function that's found on click property in the button object. This is not the same in Angular, which means the code we will write in the event will not bind to the on click property in the button object, and I will show you this in a minute. But before talk about how Angular deal with event, I want to ask you two questions. The first one is, when we click on button, we see pointer event that is found inside or that is binded to this event input, and the question is, why event? Why Chrome see this event variable and bind it to this object? The question is, this is by convention. There is not specific rule, it's just by convention. The second question is, where does this object or this pointer event object come from? The answer is from the browser itself. When the browser see on click, and if the browser find this event input or event variable, he will bind it to the object. Now, how event works in Angular? The first difference is that we will not write the events like this one. We have to write it between these braces, and we'll write the name of the event without the word on. And as you can see, Angular will not see console as a JavaScript console. He will search for the console inside the component here or the class. So this means that in Angular, the events should bind to the code that's found inside the class, not just JavaScript code. So let's create a function called onClick, for example, and we will use it here. Now there is an error in the event because, again, Angular will search for a variable called event here, but he will not find it. So the question is how Angular will bind the pointer event or the mouse event to the event here. Again, by convention, we have to write $sign before the event. If we click here, we will see the pointer event. This works fine. You can see that the onClick property here is not bound to any functions. This is because Angular should bound the event with the code inside the class here. This means that Angular deal with event in a different way. Also, the pointer event that is bound to this event variable here is created by the browser also, but Angular takes this object and handle it internally and pass it again to this variable. In summary, to use events in Angular, you have to write the name of the event between these braces and write the code here, and this code should be found inside or should be related to the class here. Okay, this is the summary. If you need to use the event object, you have to write this variable, which is event, but we should write the $sign before event. Okay, and this is the end of the video, and if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask us, and thank you for watching.